Hello, and welcome to the Wisconsin Humane Society's Wildlife Rehabilitation Center's Volunteer Information Session. We are so excited that you are interested in learning more about the Wisconsin Humane Society's volunteer program. This presentation will cover the following items and hopefully provide you with a better understanding of what our volunteer program has to offer. We hope that at the end of this presentation, you will have a good idea of whether or not volunteering with us is a good fit for you. Specifically, we cover history of the Wisconsin Humane Society, 5 facts about WHS, programs and services offered by the Wisconsin Humane Society, volunteer program expectations and guidelines, and finally, next steps to volunteer. All right, let's get started. The mission of the Wisconsin Humane Society is to make a difference for animals and the people who love them. This is no easy task, and we rely on over 4,000 volunteers in our system to help to adopt over 13,000 animals each year. We literally could not achieve this amount of life-saving power without our volunteers. Here at the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, we care for sick, injured, or orphaned wild animals with the intent of releasing them back into the wild. If an illness or injury is incurable or too severe, we also offer the service of humane euthanasia, if necessary, to alleviate their suffering. Each decision is always made in the best interest of that animal. Quality of life is key. In addition to our medical services for wildlife, we share information with the public about how to coexist with wildlife in the community in a humane, safe, and effective way. It's important to note that we are not an animal removal service, and we are also not law enforcement or the Department of Natural Resources, but we do work closely with authorities as needed. Founded in 1879, the Wisconsin Humane Society has been serving animals and people for over 140 years. Today, we are a multiple campus animal sheltering system with sites as far north as Sturgeon Bay and as far south as Mount Pleasant. The WHS system covers approximately 1/3 of the state's homeless animal population. Our biggest and busiest campus is our Milwaukee campus. Built in 1999, the current Milwaukee campus is a state-of-the-art animal shelter with over 1,000 volunteers. These volunteers help make the Milwaukee campus our largest adoption center, as well as one of the state's busiest wildlife hospitals. Milwaukee also serves as the WHS corporate headquarters. In 2004, the then Ozaki Humane Society, located in Grafton, Wisconsin, reached out to us to propose a merger. The idea being that with strength in numbers, we could combine our animal care and veterinary staff, along with our volunteer and outreach programs, and help serve the people and animals in both Milwaukee and Ozaki counties better. After many successful years, the Ozaki campus relocated in 2011 to the current state-of-the-art green building, now located in Saukville, Wisconsin. Today, nearly 350 volunteers help with the day-to-day operations at Ozaki. In 2013, Countryside Humane Society, who served Racine County, reached out to us indicating that without financial support, they were in a position where they may need to close their doors. Seeing the success of the Ozaki merger, the Wisconsin Humane Society acquired Countryside, creating the Racine campus. Having outgrown the old Countryside building, we were very excited to move into the new shelter, now located in Mount Pleasant, in early 2020. In this new shelter, over 150 volunteers help continue providing valuable community services to Racine County and other surrounding areas. Also pictured here is our spay and neuter clinic located in West Allis, Wisconsin. The mission of the clinic is to provide access to spay and neuter services at rates that are often much less expensive than going to a private veterinarian. With 3 full-time veterinarians and staff, the Spay and Neuter Clinic is able to offer thousands of surgeries each year to local communities, and anyone is welcome to utilize their services. And from there, we've just kept growing. In late 2017, both the Bay Area and Door County Humane Societies reached out to us to indicate that without further operational and financial support, they may need to close their doors. In early 2018, the Wisconsin Humane Society was excited to announce the addition of these two locations, now known as the Green Bay and Door County campuses. Combined, these two campuses have about 250 volunteers that help serve our northern communities. And finally, there's one last campus that is not pictured here, which we like to call our foster campus. With about 1,000 foster homes stretching from Door County to Racine County, our foster families provide life-saving power for animals residing outside of our shelter walls. We could not achieve our mission without each and every one of them. The Wildlife Rehabilitation Center opened its doors in 1982 at the Wisconsin Humane Society. In its first year, the department was supported by the Wisconsin Humane Society, the Schlitz Audubon Center, and independent donations. It was known as the Wildlife Animal Rehabilitation Cooperative, also known as the Wildlife ARC. After funding from the Audubon Center ended in 1983, it was called the Wildlife Animal Rehabilitation Center, still Wildlife ARC. In 1984, the Wildlife ARC moved into a WHS-owned property on North Lovers Lane Road. The Wildlife ARC name remained until 1988, when as a full-fledged department of WHS and still at the Lovers Lane location, the name was changed to the Wild Animal Rehabilitation Center, or WARC. In 1993, the WARC moved back into the newly renovated facilities at WHS, and the name was changed to the Wisconsin Humane Society's Wildlife Department. In December of 1999, the Wisconsin Humane Society and its Wildlife Department moved into a new building at 4500 West Wisconsin Avenue and changed the name to the Wisconsin Humane Society Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, though we are often called the Wildlife Hospital. There are 5 facts about the Wisconsin Humane Society that we want to make sure everyone knows about. Fact number 1. Animals in our adoption program have as long as they need to find a home. This means that we have no space or time restrictions for animals that are placed in our adoption program. Fact number 2. The Wisconsin Humane Society receives $0 of general government funding. This means that the vast majority of our operational budget is from generous community donations. While we do receive payment for contractual services, such as animal control in certain counties, we do not receive annual government funding. Our mission relies on the generous donations from our community members. Fact number 3. There is no national umbrella group in animal welfare. We are not a part of the HSUS, the ASPCA, or PETA. While many of these groups do great work in advocating for animals, they are separate organizations that do not necessarily represent the mission of WHS. The Wisconsin Humane Society is a private organization located in Wisconsin that serves its local communities. Fact number 4. The Wisconsin Humane Society receives animals from surrendered animals at all of its sheltering locations, stray intake services with municipalities in Racine, Brown, Door, and Ozaukee counties, and transfers from the Milwaukee Area Domestic Animal Control Commission, also known as MADAC. Finally, we also receive animals from overcrowded shelters that are transferred to us from both within Wisconsin as well as out of state. Fact number 5. Each animal at the Wisconsin Humane Society is treated as an individual. This means that we do not label or discriminate based on breed. None of the animals you'll see in our adoption program have a breed label. Why is that, you might ask? The truth is, the only way to be certain of a dog's breed is to do a DNA test. And even if we were to know the breed information, it does not tell us very much about that particular individual. How many of us have met a dog that didn't quite meet their breed expectation? And that's okay. We get to know each and every animal for the unique individual that they are. You are most likely interested in our volunteer program because you love animals. That is wonderful, and thank you for wanting to help. But did you know that in order to be a volunteer, you must also love people? We have a people-centered philosophy here at the Wisconsin Humane Society. People make our work possible. Each animal that comes into our care is connected to us through a person, whether that be a community member, a staff member, or a volunteer. Because people are at the center of everything we do, we treat people with the same compassion, respect, and kindness that we give each and every animal in our care. We understand that clients in our communities come from diverse backgrounds and beliefs, but we all share one thing: we all love animals. We work to bridge those gaps and eliminate barriers that would otherwise prevent people from keeping their animals in their homes. We believe that people are inherently good and assume positive intent when they come through our doors. If ultimately you decided that you could no longer provide care that your animal deserves, we are not going to judge you or criticize you. Instead, we are going to show you compassion and kindness and thank you for choosing to do what you feel is best for your animal. We're in the business of making positive and impactful relationships with our clients, and we are proud to be as much of a people business as we are an animal business. Next, we're going to review some of the programs, services, and departments that all of our wonderful volunteers help in. Our largest and most well-known program is our adoption program. We practice an open adoption philosophy. This means that we use a conversational approach with our clients to seek ways to help make matches work and not ways to deny adoptions. We help our community clients on a first-come, first-served basis, and many adopters are able to take home their new family members on the same day. We also do foster facilitated adoptions. Animals in our adoption program have variable pricing based on need and demand. For instance, dogs that have been waiting for adoption for some time often have their adoption fees reduced to help them find a home quicker. We call these dogs our benchwarmers. Our animal care program provides day-to-day needs for our domestic animals. This may include things such as cleaning, feeding, dog walking, bathing, laundry, and even transportation. Animal care positions do require moderate physical labor and are a great way to make a big impact on an animal's stay while in shelter. Volunteers help with animal care at all of our sheltering locations. We are fortunate to have trained behavior staff at all our campus locations. Behavior staff assess individual animals' behavior, support animals in need of behavior modification, train staff and volunteers on proper animal handling, offer public training classes, and provide supportive resources to people adopting an animal with behavior challenges. Animals diagnosed with behavior conditions may go up for adoption as is, get further support in shelter, or go to a foster home for further observation or treatment. We will not place a dangerous animal back into the community who poses a serious risk to people or other animals. In those rare cases, we consider euthanasia to be the most humane decision. Every animal that comes through our doors is given a medical assessment. We are proud to have full-time employed veterinarians on our staff that help provide a high level of care for all of our animals. Our veterinary staff also provides critical community services, such as our spay and neuter assistance program for low-income families, our vaccine clinics, our spay and neuter clinic in West Dallas, and euthanasia and cremation services to the public. In the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, we work with numerous consulting veterinarians that specialize in emergency care, zoology, and exotic animal care to provide the unique and specialized care and support our wild patients need. We also offer youth programs. These programs strive to teach young children about safety, empathy, and how to keep animals happy and healthy in our communities. We are always looking for volunteers to help in our youth programs. No formal teaching experience is needed, but you must love kids. If you're interested in helping out with birthday parties, scout programs, camps or other programs for youth, you may want to consider learning more about our youth programs. This is also one of our more flexible programs where volunteers can sign up for events or opportunities that work best for their schedules. The Wisconsin Humane Society has one of the largest domestic foster programs in the nation, with approximately 1,000 homes that help in our life-saving mission. Put simply, fostering saves lives. There are multiple reasons why an animal might be placed into our foster program, and they include things like socialization, illness, surgery recovery, growth, or space. Our general foster program operates out of all of our sheltering locations and placed nearly 4,000 domestic animals in foster care last year alone. In addition to our general foster program, WHS also partners with the Sojourner Peace Center, located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to help provide victims of domestic violence up to 60 days of foster care for their animal at no cost. There is also the option to do foster facilitated adoption on your own. If you're willing to open your heart and home to an animal on a temporary basis, you can learn more about our foster program by going to our website at www.wihumane.org/foster. Our Pets for Life program is an innovative outreach initiative that helps bring critical animal services to Milwaukee's 53206 zip code and surrounding neighborhoods. Families in the 53206 zip code and surrounding neighborhoods face many barriers in accessing important animal services. For example, there is not a single veterinarian clinic or pet store in the 53206 zip code. Through door-to-door outreach and events, WHS helps serve this community and their over 15,000 animals that reside within it with more affordable access to things like spay and neuter services, vaccinations, and pet care information. This isn't a pet rescue operation. This is a program designed to help people keep the animals that they love in their homes. Our goal is to build relationships with pet owners and provide them with the information and resources that they need to keep their pets happy and healthy. We are always looking for volunteers who love both people and animals and demonstrate compassionate empathy to this underserved community. Now that we have briefly discussed our other programs at the Wisconsin Humane Society, we will focus on the work we do in our Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. We are one of the state's busiest wildlife hospitals. With over 5,000 wild animals admitted each year, we rely on many volunteers to help us achieve the best outcome for our Milwaukee area wildlife. Our interns and volunteer externs also help to operate one of the state's busiest wildlife hotlines, helping answer questions from community members on how they can help wild animals in their area. The Wisconsin Humane Society holds several licenses from the state and federal government to be able to care for our wildlife patients. We have a very small staff of 6 licensed wildlife rehabilitators and 6 to 8 seasonal interns. The interns and externs learn about wildlife rehabilitation while assisting staff in the nursery, intensive care unit, and exam room. In addition, we are heavily reliant upon 75 plus dedicated wildlife volunteers to help us achieve the best outcomes for injured and sick wildlife animals in the Milwaukee area. The Wildlife Hospital also works collaboratively with other licensed Wisconsin wildlife rehabilitators and numerous veterinarians. This collaboration helps to ensure the best patient care and provide life-saving services in our region. Next, we will talk more about our philosophy. We provide humane professional care for injured or orphaned wildlife. We provide this care for animals regardless of whether a donation is made when they are brought to us, although we greatly appreciate any donation given. In line with our people-focused philosophy, we understand that one's financial means doesn't limit their empathy and compassion for wildlife, and it doesn't limit ours either. Our ultimate goal is to help these animals heal and then release our patients back to the wild once they have recovered or grown enough to be on their own, and we are grateful for the support of our community to help support this work. As a wildlife hospital, we treat sick, injured, or truly orphaned wild animals. We do not admit healthy wild animals and work diligently to reunite baby wild animals back with their families. We also try to limit our admissions to Milwaukee County, with some exceptions based on species for Racine and Ozaukee counties. These limits are to minimize stress during transport, as we give a referral to a closer rehabilitator instead of coming to us, and there are a few legal limits we must adhere to for certain species. It is unethical to keep an extremely stressed wild animal in long-term captivity. Our experienced staff and consulting veterinarians will make care decisions in the best interest of the patient. We follow all state and federal laws and strict protocols regarding both human and animal health. There are many state and federal laws concerning wildlife that we must follow. It is generally illegal, and we consider it unethical to keep wildlife as pets. It is a violation of federal law to possess a migratory bird or any part thereof, including feathers, without the proper permit. Public is granted 24 hours to take a wild animal to a licensed wildlife rehabilitator or DNR warden. Wild animals in treatment cannot be placed on public display, so there are no public tours of animal care or hospital areas. We cannot rehabilitate wildlife for commercial, non-educational purposes. We never charge for our wildlife services. Considering stress in wild animals is essential. Stress can be fatal and will impede healing in sick and injured animals. Captivity is incredibly foreign, and it is important to assume that all animals in our facility are stressed, because they are. Humans are natural predators to nearly all animal species, so seeing and hearing us is stressful in and of itself. Minimal activity in animal care rooms and minimal animal handling is imperative to the healing and well-being of our wild patients. This is why we have visual barriers, and we request that you avoid eye contact with the animals. Keep your voice low and talking to a minimum in areas where animals are housed. There are several volunteer opportunities at our Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. These include wildlife animal care. These volunteers help to feed, clean, and assist in the treatments of our wild animal patients, both in our indoor and outdoor cages. They accurately record information on charts and provide medications as needed. Volunteers must be 18 years of age or older. This opportunity is limited for best practices and the amount of training involved for volunteers. Wildlife artisan. These volunteers help maintain, build, and repair the animal enclosures, equipment, and facilities for patients in the wildlife hospital. Volunteers must be 18 years of age or older. Orphan bird care or nursery volunteer. These volunteers help to feed and provide care for the young birds and ducklings in our nursery. This position is from June and through August. Volunteers must be at least 16 years of age or older. This is a seasonal position, and we begin selecting volunteers for this position in early spring for the upcoming summer season. Wildlife extern. These volunteers directly assist the staff and wildlife rehabilitators in hospital areas including reception, nursery, ICU, and exam rooms. Volunteers must be 18 years of age or older. This is a seasonal position, and we begin selecting volunteers for this position in the spring for the upcoming summer season. Please note that all volunteer roles include cleaning, laundry, dishes, minor administration duties, and organizational tasks. It truly takes a village to complete all of our daily work, and we require that all volunteers and staff assist with these important responsibilities. When you volunteer here, you are helping care for wild animals. Wild animal care is very different from domestic animal care. Where a dog or a cat will thrive on cuddly care and affection, wild animals do not. Being in captivity is a very stressful, unnatural reality for wild animals receiving rehabilitation. All volunteers must follow safety protocols to protect human and animal health. Additionally, volunteers must also interact with other volunteers, staff, and the public in a friendly and respectful manner. It is important that we share that there are risks working with and around wild animals. Diseases that can pass from animals to humans are called zoonotic diseases. Wildlife patients admitted may be carrying a variety of parasites or diseases, some of which may be transmittable to humans. We work diligently to prevent disease transmission and promote human and animal safety. Basic prevention includes appropriate clothing, which is a uniform t-shirt, long pants, and closed-toed shoes with non-slip soles. Practicing good personal hygiene. We provide gloves and request that you wash your hands frequently when you are volunteering. Wear clothes to the wildlife hospital that you do not wear anywhere else. Do not bring food or beverages into the animal care areas. Protect yourself from animal bites and scratches. Follow all staff directions and facility protocols, including utilizing appropriate equipment. It is essential that all volunteers and staff are cognizant of what they are touching, consistently utilize appropriate personal protective equipment, known as PPE, and wash their hands thoroughly throughout their volunteer shift. Next, we'll go over a list of expectations for the volunteer program here at the Wisconsin Humane Society. These are expectations that we ask all volunteers to adhere to. We hope that this list will give you a better idea if volunteering at the Wisconsin Humane Society would be a good fit for you. First, we do ask for a minimum of a 3-month commitment. We ask for a 3-month commitment because the first several weeks in your position will be spent primarily training you. Safety is at the heart of everything we do, and we ensure that our volunteers are trained so that they can handle animals safely and effectively. Because of the high level of training that you'll receive, we are not able to offer shorter-term volunteer opportunities such as day projects or short-term school projects. We also ask for a 2 to 4 hour weekly shift on the same day and same time each week. By having our volunteers scheduled on a consistent weekly schedule, our staff are able to work concurrently with our volunteers to ensure that animal care operations are not interrupted. It is so important that our volunteers are reliable, so we do need them to be here when they are scheduled. We count on our volunteers in nearly every aspect of our day-to-day work. We literally can't do it without our volunteers. If you have been absent for 3 consecutive weeks or more with a no-show or no-contact situation, we will assume that you have resigned from the volunteer program. Your reserved weekly shift will be opened up at that point. This doesn't mean that you can't ever miss your shift. We understand that our volunteers lead very busy lives outside of the shelter. Should you need to miss a shift for whatever reason, be it illness, vacation, or work, we ask that you notify your volunteer coordinator ahead of time. Your coordinator will note your absence and work to find a replacement for you that week. We expect you to be a quick and enthusiastic learner, understand your limits, and be able to follow our rules and protocols closely. You must also be open to frequent feedback and change. This is our house, so it is our rules. Now, this may sound a little harsh, but truthfully, what this means is that safety in animal care is always our highest priority. We have many protocols and policies in place to ensure the safety of our staff, volunteers, and animals. We are going to work with you and teach you all of these procedures and why they are there. You will be expected to understand these safety protocols and follow them at each and every shift. Volunteers who are unable or unwilling to follow our safety protocols cannot continue in the program. A very important expectation is something we call feedback and coaching. What this expectation means is that as a volunteer, we are going to provide you with feedback on how you are performing in your role, as well as coaching if there are areas for improvement. All volunteers are expected to be able to work independently in their roles. If a volunteer cannot work independently, coaching and feedback will be given. The volunteer may be asked to bring along someone who can help them in their role. The volunteer may also be redirected into another position that is a better fit for their skill set. Now, because our core values involve positivity and a people-centered approach, we will provide this feedback in a respectful and compassionate way. We ask that all volunteers are open to this feedback and coaching. This is also a two-way street. We appreciate volunteers who provide feedback and coaching back to us. If you need something, have a concern, or have a suggestion that might improve operations, we want to hear from you. Lastly, volunteers must have a high ick tolerance. Volunteering can be a dirty and smelly job. This includes cleaning up feces, indoors and outside, in all temperatures and weather conditions. Additionally, we need to feed our patients a diet that meets their nutritional needs, and many of our patients do require a diet that includes meat or insects. In some cases, the meat we provide will be deceased small rodents or small birds. We also frequently feed wild animals in our care: fish, crickets, roaches, beetle larvae, waxworms, and earthworms as well. Our animal care volunteers do assist with preparing their diet and handling these items. Additionally, part of cleaning the cages, dishes, and laundry also means that we are removing an animal's excrement from their cage, bedding, and dishes. It's not the most glamorous part of our day, but it is truly some of our most important work. Now we will cover the guidelines that are specific to our volunteer program here at WHS. There are a few volunteer roles that 16 and 17-year-olds may volunteer in on their own. We do require a letter of recommendation at the time that their volunteer application is submitted. Because of the high level of training that all volunteers receive, we are not able to offer short-term volunteer opportunities. And for more traditional roles, we are unable to accommodate school service projects, typically because these projects are also short-term. If you are interested in learning more about what school projects may be available, please check out our website for more information. The Wisconsin Humane Society does not offer court-ordered community service at any of our locations. Please refer to your local county services for information on organizations that do provide this in your area. Depending on the situation and/or position, the Wisconsin Humane Society may perform background checks. And finally, there is a $10 plus tax supply fee that includes your new volunteer t-shirt and name badge. Patient care is our first priority. We do mission-focused work. As for our volunteer policies, no cameras are allowed behind the scenes, as this is stressful for our patients. No cell phones are allowed in animal care areas, as this is also distracting and very stressful for our patients. Do not let unknown people into non-public areas. Volunteers are allowed in areas that the public is not. No visitors without advance notice and approval. This is to reduce the stress to our patients as well as for human safety. Don't bring valuables here. Lockers on site are not for permanent storage. No food or drink is allowed in the animal care areas. This is to prevent disease transmission. Volunteers cannot admit animals from the public. Instead, refer the person directly to us. Volunteers cannot provide home care for wild animals unless licensed as a subpermittee. Now that we've reviewed a little history of the Wisconsin Humane Society, some of the programs and services we offer, and our program guidelines, you've probably got some questions. Let's go over quickly a few of our most frequently asked questions. If after reviewing these you still have questions of your own, we do encourage you to reach out to your volunteer coordinator for more information. Question 1. What if I have a fluctuating schedule? For most on-site roles, Volunteers commit to a consistent 2 to 3 hours per week schedule occurring on the same day of each week. This helps us to align our schedules for animal care operations. For those that have a fluctuating schedule, please contact your campus volunteer coordinator to learn more about campus-specific positions that are more flexible. We just might have something that will work for your schedule. Question 2. Can I help in more than one volunteer position? Absolutely. We appreciate that most of our volunteers want to help out in all of the ways that they can. We will get you started in one position to begin with to make sure that it is a good fit for you and that you enjoy volunteering with the Wisconsin Humane Society. Once you are comfortable in your new role, you are welcome to explore additional training opportunities in other positions by contacting your volunteer coordinator. Question 3. What if I can't come in for my scheduled shift? While we do ask for our volunteers to be reliable and come in on a consistent basis, we also understand that our volunteers lead very busy lives outside of the shelter. Should you need to miss your shift for whatever reason, school, work, weather, or illness, please contact your volunteer coordinator to let them know that you won't be in. If you are gone for more than 3 consecutive shifts and we have not heard from you, we will assume that you have resigned from your role, and we will open your reserved weekly shift up to a new volunteer. Question 4. Can I change my position? Absolutely. We want to make sure that you thoroughly enjoy your time while volunteering with us. We hope you find that the work you do is meaningful and valuable to you. Sometimes this means that the first position you started in isn't the best fit. If that is the case, your volunteer coordinator will be happy to help work with you and explore other options. Please don't hesitate to let your volunteer coordinator know if you feel that your current role isn't a good fit. We have also compiled a list of our most frequently asked questions specific to our Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Again, if after reviewing these you have additional questions of your own, please do contact your volunteer coordinator to help with answering these. Number 1. Can we look at the wild animals, and do you give public tours? As a rule, wild animals are afraid of humans, so being in close proximity to humans is very stressful for them. All of the wild animal patients at our facility are injured, sick, or orphaned, and thus have an even greater need of an environment that is as stress-free as possible to aid in their recuperation. For these reasons, state and federal laws prohibit putting animals being held for rehabilitation on public display. Question 2. If someone brings you an animal, will you call them to tell them how the animal they brought into you for care is doing? Only if they email us requesting an update. With a caseload of about 5,000 animals per year, plus about 12,000 calls from the public each year asking for our services, we do not have the resources to call clients and inform them of how the animal they brought into us is doing. If they're interested in finding out how the patient they brought into us is doing, they can email us at wildstatus@wihumane.org with the first and last name that they wrote on the animal's admission form when they came in, the species or type of animal, and the date they were brought into our facility, and we'll update them as time allows. Please understand that animal care is our first priority, so we only have time to check our status email account once a week. The public's patience is greatly appreciated. Question 3. I have an injured, sick, or orphaned animal found outside of Milwaukee County. Where can I take it? If you are outside of Milwaukee County, we urge you to contact your closest licensed wildlife rehabilitator. A listing of licensed wildlife rehabilitators can be found on our website. Due to finite resources and a caseload already of about 5,000 animals each year, we try to limit our wild animal admissions to Milwaukee County. However, if someone brings us an animal from an area without other rehabilitation resources, we will not turn them away unless we are legally obligated to do so. We are legally unable to admit wildlife from outside of Wisconsin, and we have county limitations for certain species which are set by the Department of Natural Resources. Question 4. Can I keep a wild animal as a pet? If the animal that someone brought in can't be released, can they have it back? No and no. These are both bad ideas for several reasons. While cute and relatively easy to handle when they are young, they nearly always become unmanageable and may even bite or otherwise injure their handlers when they get older. Furthermore, once habituated to humans by excessive handling and the association of humans with food or other comforts, if released, these young wild animals are often unable to adapt to life in the wild, and this habituation is not always reversible. Wild animals may carry diseases and parasites, some of them serious and even potentially deadly, which could be transmitted to humans when the animals are kept in captivity. Adult wild animals are typically fearful of humans and are used to roaming free and would be very stressed if people attempted to keep them as pets. Finally, to protect wildlife and human health and safety, state and/or federal laws forbid the keeping of most wild animals as pets. Question 5. What do you do with the animals that cannot be released? We care deeply about the animals brought to us for care and wish that each and every one could be rehabilitated and released again into the wild. But sometimes their injuries or illnesses are so debilitating as to prevent them from being able to survive on their own in the wild. For a few of these animals, we can find permanent placement for them with properly permitted and licensed educational organizations that have appropriate housing and experience to provide a high quality of life for these wild animals where they can live in a low-stress environment suitable for their species. If a high quality of life in permanent placement is not an option for a non-releasable patient, in the best interest of the wild animal, ethically and legally, we euthanize them in a humane, painless manner to prevent further suffering. Question 6. What do you do with animal remains? If the animal we brought in doesn't survive, can we get the body back? As hard as we try, not all patients survive rehabilitative care. For patients that have died in care or were humanely euthanized, most are cremated on site. We are sometimes asked for a variety of reasons if we can return the carcass to the finder. Unless you are permitted by the state and/or federal government, depending on species, it is generally illegal for us to return a deceased animal to you. Additionally, any patient that was humanely euthanized contains controlled substances that need to be disposed of properly by law. For a few avian species of religious significance to tribal members that are protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, we do send the remains of those patients to the Liberty Wildlife Non-Eagle Feather Repository for distribution to enrolled members of federally recognized tribes. With the permits we have, by law, we are unable to directly transfer feathers to tribal members. If you are a tribal member, you can read more about legal feather access in a document that we co-wrote with the Native America Humane Society on our website. Legal feather access for tribal members is important to WHS as we view sending feathers to the repository as an extension of the dedicated care our staff and volunteers have for the thousands of birds we work to save. Question 7. Do you give educational programs? If so, will you bring live animals? The Wildlife Rehabilitation Center rehabilitators, volunteers, and WHS educators collaborate to provide wildlife-centered educational programs such as Classrooms Go Wild and Wildlife Detectives. Please visit our website for details about these field trips. We do a few off-site programs each year, but most wildlife programs are given on-site at our Milwaukee campus, and some of our presentations do include visits from live animals. You can visit our website to view our educational resources related to wildlife topics. Question 8. Where do you get your funding? Are you part of the city, county, state DNR? The Wisconsin Humane Society is a private, nonprofit organization and is not affiliated with, nor financially supported by, the Wisconsin DNR, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Milwaukee County Zoo, or any governmental agency, and we are not funded by tax dollars. We are funded through the generous support of community-minded companies, foundations, and caring individuals. Thank you for your support. Question 9. Is there anything that the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center needs, and how can I help support the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center? There are many ways people can help us. We do rely on donations to help us provide life-saving care for thousands of wild animals every year. Financial contributions of any size are very important. We also publish a wish list of items we need, which can be acquired and brought in by members of the general public. You are able to make a secure online donation on our website, and you are also able to view our full wish list here as well. Volunteers are also an essential part of our operations. Question 10. Will WHS set live traps to catch the nuisance squirrels or other animals in my attic, yard, etc.? No. We do not admit healthy animals, and we offer a better, more permanent solution anyway. We offer advice for how to humanely deter nuisance wildlife through our tip lines at 414-431-6204, our website advice pages, and through telephone consultation with our staff at the same hotline phone number. Live trapping does not provide a long-term solution to a nuisance problem. Our live traps are used only for rescuing animals in situations where they are trapped and cannot get out another way. For example, in a basement with windows that do not open, or to capture an animal with an injury or illness that needs treatment. Question 11. How does one become a wildlife rehabilitator? Wildlife rehabilitation is a relatively new field of animal care. Few college programs exist that will directly correlate into a career in wildlife rehabilitation. However, a background in biology, animal husbandry, wildlife management, ecology, or veterinary medicine can be a great base for a potential wildlife rehabilitator. Skilled wildlife rehabilitation is learned by working hands-on, usually volunteering or as an intern, and we offer both opportunities at our facility, with an experienced, licensed wildlife rehabilitator or at a licensed wildlife rehabilitation center. Eventually, to become a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, you will need to obtain state licensing through the Wisconsin DNR, and if you want to work with most bird species, federal permits are required from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as well. We hope that you have enjoyed this presentation about the Wisconsin Humane Society and all the ways our volunteers make a huge impact in our day-to-day life-saving work. If after completing this presentation, you've decided that volunteering with us is a great fit, we would love to hear from you. The next step would be to contact your campus volunteer coordinator, Jackie Cammers, and let them know that you've seen this presentation and are interested in applying to become a volunteer. Once Jackie receives your email, she will send you the link to complete our volunteer application so you are able to apply. Once she reviews your completed application, Jackie will contact you to schedule a phone interview with her. Jackie's contact information will be given at the end of this presentation on the very next slide. For everyone who tuned in, we can't thank you enough for your interest in volunteering at the Wisconsin Humane Society's Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, and to help us serve the animals and people in our communities. Thank you so much for watching our volunteer information session, and we hope to hear from you soon.